Alright, so this is angle relationships day 1. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is vertical angles. So a vertical angle is angles that are opposite to one another. Vertical angles have the same angle measurement. So an example of this would be, so we have this angle, so when two lines cross, the angles that are across from each other are vertical angles. So in this example, 1 and 3 are vertical angles, and 2 and 4 are vertical angles to each other. So that's what we say right here. 1 and 3 are vertical angles, and 2 and 4 are vertical angles. So you'll notice those are the things that are right across from each other. So when two lines cross, the angles that are across from each other are vertical angles. Those are angles that are opposite of one another, and they have the same measurement. So if we look at this one, so two lines that cross, so this long line here crosses right here. So 1 and 3 and 4 and 2 are vertical, and this line crosses this line, so 5 and 7 and 8 and 6 are vertical. So those are all types of vertical angles. All right, next one is called a complementary angle. A complementary angle is when two angles are added together. They have a sum of 90 degrees. So remember, sum is just the answer to an addition problem. So when I add two angles together, if they equal 90 degrees, then we call those complementary. So in this example, angle 1 measures 75 degrees and angle 2 measures 15 degrees. So if I add those together, 75 plus 15, that equals 90. So angle 1 and angle 2 are called complementary angles. Right? So now we can use that information to find a missing angle. So right now we have our little box here that tells me that from this point right here down and over is 90 degrees. Now we know that this is 55 because it tells us, and this is x. This is our unknown. So like we said with complementary, when we add two angles together, they will equal 90. So right there, they told us that was 90. So 55 plus x equals 90 for that. So what this says, since we know that the angle to the right, is a right angle, I should say left, we can set up an equation to find the missing angle. So complementary angles say if you add two angles together, you'll have a sum of 90 degrees. So if we add 55 and x, our sum will be 90 degrees. So we write the equation. We just said 55 plus x equals 90. And you solve it just like you would a one-step equation. So we got to get rid of this 55 because we want to isolate the variable, get it all by itself. So the opposite of positive 55 is negative 55. So we're going to subtract 55 from both sides. Golden rule says what we do to one side, we do to the other. So our 90 minus 55 is 35 degrees. So that's what our x equals. So if we plug that back in, we can check if we want to see that those equal 90 degrees. Alright, next one is a supplementary angle, and that's just when two angles are added together to have a sum of 180. So basically the same concept of complementary angles, just this time we're adding two angles together and the sum is going to be 180. So in this case we said angle 1 here is 55 degrees, angle 2 is 125 degrees, and so when I add those together I get 180. Again, we can do a find the missing value. In this case we call this angle 2x plus 5, and we call this angle 135 degrees. Now we should know that 180 equals a straight line. So whenever we see a straight line, we know that that's 180 degrees. So in this case, we're saying 2x plus 5 plus 135 equals 180. So since this is a straight line, we know that the sum of the two angles is 180 degrees. So we write our equation, so like we just said, 2x plus 5 plus 135 equals 180. Now, we can simplify this left side because we have some things that are common terms. So 5 and 135 are common, so we can add those together. 5 plus 135 is 140. So now I have 2x plus 140 equals 180. Now, this is a two-step equation, so we need to isolate the variable, which is x. So again, we look at it as backwards order of operations. So we're looking for addition or subtraction first. So we have addition right here. So the opposite of that is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 140 from both sides. and then I'm going to get left with 2x equals 40 degrees. Now, one-step equation, divide both sides by 2, so x equals 20 degrees. Now, this is asking us to find the missing angle, not the value of x. So, just like we would do with the check step, I need to plug that whatever I got in for x back in to check it. So, this says now 20 is not the answer to the missing angle, it is the value of x. So we need to substitute in to find the value. So we do that by just going 2x plus 5, which is what the missing angle is, because we don't know it, because this is the 135, this is the 2x plus 5. So we need to figure out what that is. So we said x was 20, so all we did here was we took this and we got our 20 and we just moved it in to where the x was. Right? So 2 times 20 plus 5, 40 plus 5 equals 45. So the missing angle in this case is 45 degrees. Okay. Now, we need to know how to read angles. So when we read angles, we just need to figure out what angle is being described. Just trace out the letters provided. So this says angle ABD. So what you're going to do is you're going to start where A is, you're going to trace to B, and you're going to go up to D. So ABD talks about this one right here. Alright? Then we also have DBC, so start at D, go down to B, and go over to C. So that's talking about this angle. Alright, we can also have CBD, so notice that's the same thing as DBC. You're just tracing it the other way, so it's still talking about this angle. And then we also have DBA. Right, so that's how we figure out what we're talking about with the angles. We just trace it out, and that shows us where we're looking. Alright, so it says use the highlighter tool to trace the described angle. So we just talked about that. So we have TUV. So again, we'll start at T, go to U, go to V. Switch colors here. Oh, here we'll highlight TUV so we can see that. Alright, we'll go SUV. So SUV talks about that one. We'll talk about TUR. So TU and then R. So it's talking about that angle. We can do WUR. So WUR. So lots of angles in this. VUR. So start at V, go to U, go to R. And finally we can do, let's go with this tan color. W, U, and V. Right, so I hope that wasn't too confusing, but we just trace out where we start at. Alright, so that's it for day 1 of angles. So come on back for day 2.